Okay, it's live. So let me go to your page and see this video. Are we live? Okay, we are live, so I can share this to my page.
Yeah, we'll wait a few minutes to let some folks join.
Versus Lifetarian.
All right, we got a couple of viewers.
Okay, post. So it's now on my timeline. And I'll just post it on one other, the Altadena Vegans.
So I don't know if you have headphones handy, but if at any point we start hearing echoes, if you plug those in, it'll kind of get rid of that. But I think it's okay right now.
I'm not sure I do.
It should be fine. We tested it out before and it seemed like it was okay.
Yeah, I think it was okay. Okay, well, I will go from my page. So for, there we go. All right. I guess since we just have a few people on right now, we could start with you. So you go for when.
Okay, it's shared on your page?
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my page now.
All right, let's wait one more minute because I think your viewers need the synopsis on me more than my viewers do.
That's true. Lifetarianism is relatively less known, thank God, than veganism. So I guess we could wait a minute. Could you bow down for a second so people can see your amazing backdrop?
Of course. It's pretty accurate.
Is that a picture of you the way you're dressed right now?
Yeah, this is my usual Lifetarian approved fiber outfit.
What fiber is it made of?
It's a synthetic fiber that's not made from cotton or any other deceased plants.
Oh, so it's just made from petrochemicals that pollute the environment and come from decomposed animal parts.
Allegedly.
Well, very nice. Come look at his backdrop. Can you log on, George, also, and you as a viewer? See that? Yeah. All right. You can come back.
All right. All right. We have 11 viewers. I guess we could get started. The rest will come in later and figure things out as they go along.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so we're gonna start off doing a brief intro each, and then we're gonna take a few minutes afterwards to each state our thesis statement, and then we'll do some back and forth. We'll have some. We'll address comments on Facebook, and we could even invite some viewers on webcam with us. So that will take place a little later on.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So I'll start off here. So hi everyone, Jacob the Lifetarian here. So I know my viewers are familiar with my work, but let me explain to those new folks what Lifetarianism is. Okay, so Lifetarianism is a diet and a lifestyle in which we don't eat or consume anything that was ever alive. So no meat and no plants. So vegans have half the story right, where they're not murdering and sodomizing animals, ideally, but they're still murdering plants all over the globe. Okay, because science has proven, and when I get deeper into my thesis statement, I will show that science has proven that plants are indeed living beings, just like humans and animals are. So Lifetarians view humans, animals, and plants all on an equal playing field, okay? None is better than the other, and none is more alive than the other. So a brief visual example is from my book, Life of a Lifetarian. You can see the Lifetarian scale of justice. Plants and animals are equal. So that's sums it up in brief for now, and I'll hand it off to Vanessa to describe how she justifies killing plants. Go ahead.
All right. So my name is Vanessa Marsot, and I have opened a vegan organic wellness center in Los Angeles of holistic health. And make sure can you hear me? Is my connection
yes,
okay? Oh,
but
okay.
we're losing your screen now.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully, okay, let me look at.
I hear you fine.
All right. So, and we just opened this center about holistic healing and wellness. And a plant-based diet is crucial for that because, as Jacob mentioned about the animal side, there is nothing natural about eating animals. It's a completely cruel practice to take a sentient being's life. Plants, on the other hand, don't have
I hear you.
systems. They don't run from. What was that?
Sorry, go ahead.
They don't run from. Okay, they don't run from pain. They don't run away. They don't have any mechanisms to escape. Therefore, they weren't made to run from us. And to not eat plants or animals means that you would be eating things that are either inanimate, that have no nutrients, or being a breatharian. There is no other option. And I'll explore that more in detail when we get to the nitty-gritty of what our perspectives are. But basically, short of being a breatharian, which I applaud, there really is no other option, and eating plants kills far fewer plants than eating animals. And as I said, plants don't feel pain the way animals do. You cannot compare eating a carrot to eating a live-breathing baby lamb, for example, who's running from fear, who's running from pain. So there is no comparison. There are networks of plants that feel things, but it's not to the same level that an animal does. So that is why I am a vegan. And once Jacob gives his more complete perspective, I can tell you why his eating either soil, dirt, or eggs or milk are highly poor choices, both in terms of the I'm seeing comments here. I'm not sure if I should be on the StreamYard or the other page or the Facebook, but they're either devoid of nutrients or you're actually eating a lot of living beings when you eat those two things.
All right.
That's my intro.
Yeah, save some of the details for your thesis here.
Yes, but I just want to clarify, should our comments come on the Facebook? Because I was seeing comments on both.
Vanessa, so for you, view this through StreamYard, not through Facebook. If
okay.
But so for everyone commenting, we are going to get to your comments after. Coming up now, we're going to get into more of the nitty-gritty, and then we're going to do a cross-examination where I suppose we could get to the comments because we already have a ton of comments coming in, but we're not getting to them yet. So if you're saying something now, it might get buried in a few minutes when we actually address them. So,
yeah. Okay, I see the comments now.
Yeah, I mean, you could jump back and forth from Facebook to here. I don't know what order the comments are coming in, but we'll figure this out as we go along. So I want to. So I'll get into my deeper analysis here. So for those of you listening, so Vanessa mentioned breatharianism. So for those of you that don't know what it is, if the name itself is not self-explanatory enough for you, that is people who survive just through breathing and through sunlight and the such. I don't know any breatharians. If there's any breatharians listening, we will be inviting viewers on through webcam here. I'll send you the link on Facebook, and we'll invite you on, and you could chat with us here. So if there's any breatharians on, we'd like to hear from you, since that is at least common ground that we both have.
Yes.
So
I'm going to, if my reception isn't good here, I'm going to move away from my fabulous green screen. It was the reception poor. Should I move to a different location? Is this better? Does this seem better? I'll get rid of the green screen.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you 98%. There was one part there where you broke up slightly.
Okay.
But... All right, so Angie Prosser claims to be a breatharian.
Oh, wonderful.
So if you want to come on, Angie, I will send you our link.
That would be amazing to hear from a breatharian. I know one, Alan Dale was a breatharian, lived off the photosynthesis and the energy that the sun produces. So we would love to hear from Angie.
So Angie, I just sent the link for you to click and join the debate here.
Can you turn off the light behind me, George?
All right, while we're waiting, one of the comments says,
"Hi, Tom.
Someone wanted to see me debate Michael O'Brien years ago. That I will accept, but I suppose he will back down like a coward, like the individual Matt Selviti backed down when he challenged the Lifetarian physique. I don't want to get off topic too much, but the point is, many of our detractors, even for vegans, people who bash vegans, are cowards and don't live up to their tough talk on the keyboard. But unlike me and unlike Vanessa, we're not cowards, and we back up our statements by actually following through and doing these debates and these challenges. That being said, let me get into the nitty-gritty and let's get this going, okay? So I want to dedicate this debate. So let me read a brief dedication to you all. This debate is dedicated to life, to all life, to every living being that is ritualistically sacrificed for the consumption of man. This is for every human killed in war, for every animal stewing in a crock-pot casket, and this is especially dedicated to those murdered plants who sacrificed their lives to cleanse the colon of a vegan bowel movement. Why are you laughing?
Oh, you have such a way with words.
So this is Vanessa's behavior here. She hears something sadistic, and it brings her joy. When I first met Vanessa, I know this is supposed to be my Lifetarian synopsis, but I feel like this is apropos. Okay,
is this the grandmother story? Because I love this one.
It is the grandmother's story.
Awesome.
And as you can see, she's already cackling, which is the whole crux of the issue here. So I have a grandmother who was murdered by a vegan. I wasn't always a Lifetarian. I wasn't born this way naturally because my parents aren't Lifetarians. They are meat-eating junkies, like many of you listeners are. So my grandmother was going to the country kitchen buffet for the early bird special, and on her way there, she was hit by a truck. There was a supermarket nearby, right situated right next to the country kitchen in the strip mall. and she was hit by a truck. It was a truck making a supermarket delivery. So naturally, it was loaded with fruits and vegetables. That has nothing really to do with the story, but it's just it's a sick coincidence. So my grandmother, when she was hit by that truck, she was put into a coma. Sorry, this is hard for me to talk about. So I was very close with my grandmother, and when she was hit by that truck, she was put into a coma. So my dad got that dreaded phone call that she was in the hospital. So that afternoon, we visited her in the hospital, and she was just laying there comatose. And I didn't, from a young age, I didn't like being around that morbid, macabre setting. So I stepped outside of the hospital room, and I overheard the nurses talking with the doctor about what they wanted to order for lunch that day. So I heard that the nurses saying they want to get a filet mignon, a fish taco. And then I heard the doctor, who was looking after my comatose grandmother, who was a full-fledged vegetable at that point. I heard the doctor say to the nurse that he said, "I'll take a vegan salad." And when I heard that, it kind of alarm bells went off in my head, because I thought, what, a vegan doctor is the head of a hospital wing? Vegans aren't even intelligent, let alone how could they run a whole hospital wing? So I thought to myself, what's up with that? So a few minutes later, I went into the room, and my folks were talking to the doctor about whether to pull the plug on my grandmother or not. And because she was a full-fledged vegetable, so the doctor, he convinced my father to pull the plug, and then she died later that afternoon. And I realized, once that doctor heard my grandmother was a comatose vegetable, he couldn't help himself, and he just had her pull the plug, and she died later that afternoon. So when I first told this story to Vanessa, she started cackling.
Just at the part where you suggested that the doctor pulled the plug because she was a vegetable and it made him think of his lunch. That was the only thing, not at the death of your grandmother, which is of course very sad. Any loss of life is a sad one, but the way you described it before, was she an asparagus? It was just that the association you made with the doctor salad. I know. Isn't that amazing? The music is emanating naturally from the gravity of the story. Damn vegans. I know that I'm making light of him having a soundtrack, and it's just beautiful that he's emoting to music, right?
Well, I want to clear something up. I wasn't suggesting he pulled the plug to eat her after he heard she was a vegetable.
Yeah, I thought
I'm saying it was like a subconscious thing where he heard she was a vegetable, and to him that means food.
So he wanted to pull the plug because he is unconsciously thinking of food when he sees her, so he starts salivating, and that influenced
subconsciously. Yes.
Well, there's actually, as a licensed psychotherapist, there actually, subconscious is a layperson's term. It's really the unconscious, not the subconscious.
Well, my grandmother was unconscious when one of your brethren pulled the plug on her.
I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a psychotherapist, emphasis on psycho. So anyway, please continue on what Lifetarianism is and what you eat and your philosophy of it for those who don't know. And I just wanted to acknowledge Tom, great to see you. And Michael Blow made a great point, which is that Venus flytraps don't need flies to survive.
All right. So for those who are unfamiliar with what Lifetarians eat, So we don't eat anything that was ever alive. So no meat and no plants. So what we do eat is water. And here's where the vegans are going to start getting on their keyboards and they're going to get very angry at me. We eat water, dairy, eggs, and dirt. So I know some of you, if you're vegan, I'm sure you're already steam's coming out of your ears after you heard dairy and eggs, and you probably didn't even hear me say dirt. But let me address dirt first, okay? So dirt sounds like it's crazy to eat. It sounds like a joke. Many people think I'm joking when I say I eat dirt. But let's analyze this for a moment. So most people get their nutrients and minerals from plants or animals, but we both agree eating animals is bad, so it's not really efficient for us to talk about that. So many folks get their minerals and nutrients from plants. So where do plants get their minerals and nutrients from? They get them from the dirt, okay? So we're cutting out the middleman. So instead of murdering the plant, we're going straight to the source, okay? And that source is the dirt. Now, let me back it up by this, saying this, and then I guess I can hand it off to Vanessa here. So eating dirt is not something that I created, okay? Yes, I am the figurehead and the tip of the spear for Lifetarianism, and I've popularized it, but eating dirt is actually a practice that goes back centuries. There are indigenous tribes in Africa that have been eating dirt for centuries. And these individuals who live in these tribes live to the true human potential lifespan. It's not 70 years old. It's not 80 years old or 90 when everyone's celebrating if someone lives to 60 years old nowadays. The true human potential lifespan is around 120 years old. And that's unheard of this day and age, especially in modern industrialized societies. So these tribes have been eating dirt and clay and things of the sort. And is it any coincidence that they live to be about 120 years old, over 100? No, because they don't have all that death rotting inside of them. So vegans rid themselves of all that dead animal carcass, which sure will help, but they have this rotting plant carcass rotting inside of them. So I know one of the things vegans like to talk about is how rotting death and animals being slaughtered and that it gives off a chemical response of fear and torture that is bad for the human body when it's consumed. So plants also have that similar thing because they're also living, so they also have that rotting death juice that rots inside the human body. So I don't want to talk too long on a turn here, so I'll hand it off to you. Actually, before I do that, because I know you're going to attack this.
Yes, I am. I'm just waiting. I'm being polite and waiting.
I know you're gonna jump on the dairy and eggs aspect of my argument.
Oh,
So
I'm not even starting with that. Although Gwenna Hunter, hey Gwenna, does say eggs are chicken pears, which is absolutely correct. And Tom Venzel, does he eat worms? I'm going to get right to that. And Michael Blow roast, rotting chicken fetus inside you, rancid breast milk curdling inside you. Exactly. He eats the plant's habitat. Well said. He's eating the home of the plants. And Gwenna asked, would you consume an aborted human fetus? Same difference as a chicken egg. Absolutely. I will let you just respond to that before I take over, if you would like to respond to Gwenna's question.
okay, so the issue of, or the non-issue of eating dairy and eggs is you vegans see me as the owner of the factories that are hooking up cows and chickens and stuff and all the other animals to Barry Bonds, Mark McGuire steroid machines, or nipple sucking factories where your nipples are being drained like a Ron Jeremy's ball sack in a porno shoot. No, we are not torturing these animals, okay? These are completely free range, and we're only taking what is left over. We're not stealing from the baby calves. If there's anything left over, then we can consume it, but we don't even have to. It's an optional part of lifetarianism. But being that eggs and dairy are not alive, it's okay. But torture is not okay, no matter what we're talking about here. It's not okay even if you were eating animals. It's not okay to torture. It's not okay to torture anything. So lifetarians are anti-torture. So I don't want to hear that as one of the arguments, because we do not torture the animal. We only take what is left over if one so chooses.
After you allow other people to torture the animal. So you're just paying others to torture them. So I will start with the soil because you have mentioned that that's what you wanted me to start with. So soil, 1 teaspoon of soil contains 1 billion bacteria. It also contains fungal hyphae. I did some research on this, and yards of it. It contains protozoa, springtails, mites, algae, nematodes, earthworms, ants. A lot of these are microscopic, so the bare eye could not see them. And they, of course, contain burrowing rodents and all kinds of other creatures who live underground. So there is no soil that isn't teeming with life. And in fact, a teaspoon of soil has more life than there are people on the planet. So there is no such thing as eating soil that is not killing and torturing. You're eating a massive amount of microorganisms. And you are also eating plants because plants, when they drop into the ground, decay, and that becomes part of the soil. So you are, in fact, eating animals and plants when you eat the soil. Milk contains tons of bacteria, which is a life form. And so if you're eating it raw, I'm not even talking about the moral aspects, which I'll get to in 1 second. If you're eating it raw, you're eating tons of bacteria. And if you kill it, pasteurize it, then you're eating the dead animals in your milk, and as well as the pus. Eggs, basically chickens, hens, when they are not bred and hormonal growth hormones and all kinds of crap they thrust into them, when that doesn't happen, they produce about 60 eggs a year. Not enough to feed anyone, and it's a huge toll on their body. They're supposed to eat their own eggs in order not to deplete themselves of nutrients. And so that's your water. We can agree on is all good. The soil, you are not vegan or not eating. You are still eating animals, eating the soil. You are still eating animals, eating milk. And then in terms of eggs, we have artificially created these poor beings who suffer so much and cannot even stand up sometimes because they fatten them so much, either for their meat or for their eggs. And they're producing this massive amount, which depletes their resources, depletes their body of nutrients. And I've been to these supposed cage-free farms. I have been to them where they have hundreds of them shoved into these small areas. They're living in their own waste. They're not allowed in the yards to root about and do their normal behaviors. They are confined. They are condemned to produce eggs for people. And so there is nothing humane about that. In terms of milk, the milk is made for the baby cow, not for us. And the cow isn't sitting there giving consent for you to steal her milk from her. So you don't even have the ability to say, oh, I'm just going to take the leftover. There is no leftover. It's for her baby cows. And there wouldn't be enough of that milk, even if there were hypothetically some left over, to feed lots of people. So unless we are institutionalizing them and torturing them, there is no way to have enough nutrients and supply to feed people. On top of that, I was going to say that I would love it if I didn't have to eat any plants. That's why I said the thing about breatharianism. But since plants don't need to run from fear and they propagate, especially a lot of times the what do you call it, like fruit that just falls from the tree. It is meant to fall from the tree. That's what they do. Kale, I have a kale plant growing in the backyard. It's not screaming. It doesn't feel pain. It keeps
So you
producing
have
more.
slave trade in your backyard. I hope the authorities are listening to this debate.
I sure hope they are. Oh, speaking of which, that was the last thing I was going to say, is that there is, you talked about eating soil being a long practice. That is true. We've had the diagnosis of pica for many years. And if Jacob came into my office, I would have to give him that diagnosis as a psychotherapist, because it often comes from trauma and stress. And it's the persistent eating of substances with no nutritional value, such as dirt or paint.
Just like those who called the earth round were diagnosed as crazy. If I'm ahead of my time, and you want to call that a mental illness, that is just your own ignorance showing.
Yes, I'm ignorant as a licensed psychotherapist, but your superior knowledge as a lifetarian clearly shows through. And Gwenna says chickens also lay eggs from their anus just so that you can nom. Exactly. That is very true. And I think that the point is there is no way to get dairy or eggs in a humane way from beings whom you have held captive. Because if you pen them, you fence them, you cage them, in the act of doing that, you already have knowledge that you are doing something against their will. If they wanted to stay where they were, they would. You wouldn't need to cage them. But putting them in these containers is against their will, and getting their eggs or milk, you have to subdue them to get that. So that in itself shows you cannot avoid violating an animal's will by having the products of their bodies stolen from them.
Okay.
I give him a straight. I don't think so. He just needs some therapy. Long term, daily. Turn all the land that goes to vegan crops like soy and convert it to clover pasture for cows. Supply side solved. But would you be still fencing them in and restraining them, or just allowing them to roam freely and they're just going to be dropping milk as they walk? That makes
I'm for completely free range. I don't think there should be fences, but let me get to some of your points you brought up. So regarding the dirt teeming with microorganisms. So let me preface this by saying Lifetarians aren't suggesting that we lock ourselves in a bubble or a casket and live out the rest of our lives in there, where we won't ever potentially harm another thing. So there's such a thing as incidental death, or as we know in law terms, it's called manslaughter, which sounds pretty vicious. But if we just walk down the street, or walk down a path, or breathe in the outside air, we are going to be inhaling microorganisms or potentially stepping on microorganisms. And there's no way around that unless you just commit suicide and end your life right then and there. Okay. So there are some, you have to go about living your life, but you don't have to go about it in a premeditated, murderistic fashion, like ordering a pulled pork at a barbecue establishment, or ordering a salad at a cafe, a vegan cafe. So regarding dirt, some of those microorganisms that are in dirt have a symbiotic relationship with the human body. So they survive and thrive in the human body, and they're not, it's not like we're murdering them when we consume them. Whereas when you eat a hamburger, that cow is not surviving and thriving in your colon as you drown it in your toilet 2 hours later. Okay.
Okay. What research and evidence do you have that those microorganisms survive inside the human body?
Because these are similar to the cultures that are in other dairy type products and other naturally forming organisms that are and bacterium that are in these foods. Okay, so they have the symbiotic relationship. I don't have the articles on me to show it to you, but I do. Speaking of articles, have some articles, and I hope some of you vegans will find very interesting. Okay, so here's some scientific articles that are not printed on paper, because I know the comments are going to be stewing on that any second.
So what are they printed on?
So there's a thin type of plastic that is used.
Oh, a highly toxic material that destroys the environment and the soil and the water. That's great.
And chopping down trees is literally destroying the environment. And plastics is a hypothetical destruction of the environment, but trees is a surefire destruction.
Well, bamboo, I get a lot of paper products from bamboo because bamboo is something, if you remove part of it, it spurs it to grow even more. So you don't have to destroy the environment and you still have your paper product.
And we could rip the tails off of lizards because they'll grow back, but I don't suggest we do that because we're not. But
instead you suggest plastic, which is one of the most toxic and climate-destroying products there is?
Again, it's a hypothetical. It doesn't have to destroy the environment, whereas using paper and wood is killing the tree. So it's either a definite destruction of the environment or a potentially destruction of the environment.
Definitely. The evidence of cutting down one tree has a much less of an environmental impact than producing plastic, which goes into the earth, soil, water, destroys the air, and is made from petrochemicals. So it's still made from animals.
Wait, which chemical are you talking about? I was reading the comment.
Bamboo tastes best when you torture it, Vanessa. Don't say a quote when I haven't, like, making a joke is fine, but when you do a quote, that's just unethical to falsely attribute a quote to me when I did not say that.
I think he was reading in between the lines.
But then that's not a quote. So that's deceptive and misleading to have it as a quote when it's not. So plastic is made from petrochemicals, which is decayed animal matter. Not
all plastic. Some plastics are. That's correct.
Yeah,
we're making strides with new synthetic fibers, which is what my book is made out of. For many of you that don't know, I'm a published author. My book is Life of a Lifetarian, available on Amazon.com, and it's not printed on paper. It's printed on a synthetic fiber that it feels a little like paper, but it's a little different. It's a little more slippery than wooden paper, but my book is available on Amazon. But let me get to these articles that I mentioned before we got diverted. So I have these scientific articles, a whole bunch of them. And let me read some of these headlines to you. It might be reversed on screen. Oh, it's not. This one's called "Researchers Have Found That Plants Know They Are Being Eaten." Here's another one. Study says trees have feelings, like to cuddle and like to look at each other like an old couple. Here's another article. Plants respond to leaf vibrations caused by insect herbivore chewing. So that might be a little confusing of the title. This is from pubmed.gov. So I'm not just making these articles up out of thin air, okay? So let me just briefly explain this article to you. So plants respond to leaf vibrations caused by insect herbivore chewing. So for those of you that are claiming plants aren't alive, this is one of the most damning.
Plants are alive. Nobody's claiming plants aren't alive.
Well, claiming that they're not sentient beings that know they're being killed and such. So this is a very damning article, and I apologize to the vegans listening to this because your world is about to be turned upside down. Okay, so let me just explain this. So an experiment was done where plants had their leaves chewed by an insect. which of course was killing their leaves, which is part of their body parts. And then an audio recording was played of the sound of their leaves being chewed, and the plants naturally recoiled like a defense mechanism. So that goes to show that plants do respond to external stimuli when they sense that they are in danger. And here's another article that suggests the same. Plants actually know when they are being eaten and send distress signals. Plants warn each other if they're attacked. There's tons of articles like this where plants do respond in a defensive manner to attackers. And here's another one. Plants might be conscious. So there's tons of these articles that I'm not just making up. These are from real sources, and these are real studies that suggest plants do react like an animal would who runs away, which is a point Vanessa brought up, that it's okay to eat plants because they can't run away. Well, what? Would you guys have feasted on Stephen Hawking if his tail chipped over because he couldn't get away?
I knew that was coming. So plants don't have central nervous systems. They feel impulses. They don't feel the way that we feel, the way that animals feel. And as Kim Delgado said, so don't waste all the more plants feeding them to the animals for them to eat. And Kim, fortunately, Jacob doesn't advocate eating animals, thank goodness. He just advocates eating their secretions and their chicken periods. So plants, as I said, if there were a way to eat no life form at all, I'd be all for it if there were a way that we could do that. There isn't. So except if you're a breatharian.
Or a Lifetarian, go on.
Well, no, because Lifetarians eat the soil, and your stomach acids are going to kill a lot of the bacteria. It's not all the like lactobacillus and all the ones that are in dairy. Not at all. There's a billion different kinds, and the fungi and the protozoa and nematodes and earthworms and ants and all those others that you are killing by eating them. So soil is not a valid option. Dairy is not a valid option because you are causing immense suffering to the cow and stealing. And chicken periods are not an option either. So I would love it if I didn't have to eat any living being. That would be great. But being vegan is the least harmful to the planet and to animals. So, and for example, if I get an apple that's fallen off the tree or an orange, it's fallen anyway. And there are some Jains in India who just eat fruit that has fallen from a tree. They don't uproot anything. And I think that's wonderful. And that's a beautiful way to be. If we could all do that, that would be great. And just get fruit that's fallen from a tree. But I don't believe that plants feel the way we're talking about. They have communication. They have networks. There's all kinds of things in the soil networks too that communicate with each other. Trees from thousands of miles away can communicate with other ones. I say we minimize how much we destroy, and certainly getting rid of animal agriculture will hugely minimize how many plants are destroyed. But I don't feel guilty eating plants because of them not having a central nervous system. There is no comparison between eating an animal or stealing from an animal the products that she produces for herself versus eating plants. If you're going to talk about a scale of feeling, then all the creatures you're eating in the soil are far more numerous and far worse than eating a plant. And let's look at some of these comments.
So one of the comments was,
what's this couch? I don't know what the whole couch is. Is that a private joke?
Spam couch stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So here's a comment that I think is interesting to address. I've addressed it many times, but I think it might give some pause for vegans. So vegans murdered Helen Keller.
Oh, please sing that song.
Well, we'll get to that. I do have a song about this subject matter. Maybe we'll end the broadcast with the song, and we could all sing it together, and maybe that will let us join together and really feel libertarianism through our vocal cords, our vibrations, and maybe that'll change our spiritual vibration. But anyway, let me just explain this quick. So vegans murdered Helen Keller. That's right, I didn't stutter, okay? And I'll explain to you how vegans murdered Helen Keller. So Vanessa already summed up why or how vegans justify eating plants and not animals. One, because plants can't see, animals can see. Two, plants can't hear, animals can hear, or many of them can. And plants can't talk. And animals have vocal cords, many of them. It could scream in horror when they're being butchered. So plants can't see, plants can't hear, and plants can't talk. So now let's examine Exhibit A, Helen Keller. Helen was blind, she couldn't see, deaf, she couldn't hear, and therefore she couldn't really communicate verbally. So that's 3 strikes, she's out, according to the vegan's playbook. Okay.
No, because she has a brain and she has nerve impulses.
Oh, so she responds to external stimuli when she's being attacked like a plant would?
Yeah, and she can think and formulate thoughts when they came up with a form of communication for her. Plants don't produce thoughts. They don't have nerve impulses.
It doesn't matter. So you're saying, so the case of my grandmother, she's a comatose, she can't do anything except lie in bed. Is she okay to pull the plug on her or to feast on her?
Well, not feast on her because I don't believe in eating people, but pull the plug if she doesn't have quality of life and her brain isn't alive, then yeah.
So one of our viewers is talking about a vegan-created tick disease. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Oh, that's the Lone Star tick from Texas, I think, that it originated, where basically they had this tick that when it bit you, you developed a tremendous allergy to eating animals, or I don't know what kind of animal, but certain kind, that you could not then tolerate any kind of animal product.
I'm not familiar with this incident.
Yeah, the Lone Star tick. Gwenna is asking, how is the milk from the free-range cow obtained, Jacob? Please explain the process.
All right, that's a good question. I don't know where that is on our feed here. I would put it up on screen.
It is at 6:41 p.m.
Here we go. Gwenna is asking, how is the milk from a free-range cow obtained? So if one was to obtain the milk from a free-range cow, we would see this is a process that is carefully done. This is not easy like going to a 7-Eleven or a gas station and getting a Mountain Dew and just paying $1 and unscrewing and then drinking it. Okay, this is a careful process, just like eating anything. You have to look at what you're eating. You don't just or I know many of you just blindly scarf anything into your mouth, but blindly consuming things is what let Bill Cosby get away with what he did for decades, because people were blindly drinking his Cosby concoctions. Okay, but so you have to be mindful of what you're consuming. You don't eat any dirt that might have insects in it, or have rodents burrowing in it. And so on the topic of milk, it's a careful process where you want to make sure you're not overexerting the cow, and you want to make sure you're not taking any from the calf. So you have to observe. This has to be like a full-time job for someone if they were to be a rational, safe milk exerter. Okay, so you have to observe the cows. You have to watch the calves, make sure they're well fed, and make sure that the cow has enough to spare afterwards. And then by hand, you would milk the cow if it has some left over and it's experiencing some distress because it hasn't had a calf who suckled from its nipple in a long time. And so similar to, it's like, think of it like breastfeeding, like from a human. So as we know, breast milk is one of nature's greatest nectars. Personally, I was breastfed till I was about 5.5 years old. Okay. And I wish I was breastfed longer because breast milk helps develop the human brain more than formula babies. Okay. So the fact I was breastfed until I was 5 was one of the greatest happenstance blessings because it developed my brain more than most of you listening right now, which is why most of you can't really comprehend these topics and these ideas that I'm positing to you. So I wish I was breastfed longer than 5. We should be breastfed maybe until we're 8
25.
or 10. So think of milking a cow like you're breastfeeding a baby. The baby is not hooking steroids into the mother and connecting her to machines and sucking on her breasts until they're dry as a empty balloon flopping in the wind. The mother knows when to say, "Baby, stop suckling my nipple." So we have to say this to the so we have to observe this from the cows, and when the cow has had enough and says, "Sir," or "Stop suckling from my udder," not in those words specifically, but through moans and groans, similar to if, let's say, Helen Keller again, someone who's mute or can't really speak. If they're breastfeeding, they should be allowed to breastfeed. So if they're breastfeeding, they can't say, "Okay, Junior, it's time to remove my nipple from your mouth." They're gonna have to make noises like because they can't really speak. So we have to use this same type of precaution with cows.
And is that feasible? This so-called intuiting if the cow is ready for you to take her milk. How would we be breeding millions of cows on purpose, or just letting the nature of like natural amounts of cows breed and then following them around and trying to figure out if this cow that's just wandering where she wants to, who probably doesn't want you touching her, and that's a violation to touch you when you don't want to be touched,
I agree.
then how would you actually have enough milk to feed everyone? And as Gwenna says, it would be healthier for you to get your milk from a human vegan tit. A human can communicate more clearly. Amen to that, Gwenna. Anybody?
That's what I said. It's not nothing new. I just said that.
What?
Breastfeeding is nature's greatest nectar. We should be breastfed long into our age. However we want it long, we want to drink breast milk. And
Yes.
like I said, humans communicate more clearly. That's why I have to use discretion with the cows. If the cow's running away when you're grabbing for its nipple, then let it go. This is like
cow is not an it.
It's
a she.
I know, and plants aren't its either. So it's similar to when men on Tinder go to the bars and they're going after their mates. If they go for a grope, and the potential mate runs away, then let her run free. I'm not advocating such activity, but I'm saying, and for humans, that is when the line is crossed between a sexual assault or a consensual activity. If the cow's running away, then let it go. It doesn't want to give you its milk. And like I said, obtaining milk is optional. I'm not saying that should be feeding the entire population, but it is an option. And when Lifetarianism starts spreading more around the globe, and that means we'll be shutting down every bar that's selling hops and beer, every restaurant that's selling animal products and salads and things of the like. Then all those occupations can get put into this rational Lifetarianism, animal occupations. I don't want to call it farming because farming has a connotation of agriculture and such, and I do not agree with that. So I don't want to call it farming. There should be a new term for it when the time comes.
Gently coaxing the cow to let you touch her and steal her milk. Uh,
No, that's stealing. If it's consensual,
how
then
is it
what happened?
consensual? As Michael Blow, I don't know how to add these comments to the thing, but Michael Blow says, why is it okay for lifetarians to allow the cows and chickens to eat much life so lifetarians can parasite off of their bodies, glands, and organs? Yes, Kim, it is Gwenna. I just wanted to say I saw that comment from Kim that just came up.
Yeah, we have a lost connection here. We might get a new couple or a menage a trois, as the picture suggests, maybe. Anyway, what was that question? Can you read it to me? I can't find it.
Why is it okay for lifetarians to allow the cows and chickens to eat much life so lifetarians can parasite off their bodies, glands, and organs?
I mean, is there like a word missing? It's a weird. Are they suggesting that we're assaulting the cows?
I think so, and they're eating a lot of plants.
Oh,
So I'm not quite sure, Michael. I'm not quite sure what your question is, but basically they're eating plants that, as I've said, are full of life, and their soil is full of life, and they're eating plants, the cows and chickens, and then you're eating their their secretions and their periods. So, yeah.
So animals eating plants. Yes, this is something I addressed on one of my recent Facebook Live videos, but I'll address it here. So one of my callers mentioned that animals in the wild eat each other. They eat plants. So if you see that, that is like a human seeing a crime take place. Like you see a mugger robbing a grandmother on the street. The moral thing would be to stop that mugging. So if you see an animal eating another animal or attacking them, you should intervene. You shouldn't kill the animal. You should split them up. But this could be another job once all restaurants and bars close down. We could have a animal like rescue type things where people stop animals from eating each other or eating plants. But animals they haven't evolved as much as humans have, so they don't understand morality and things of the like. They only understand what their natural urges are.
Isn't that speciesist, positing humans as the ultimate and the animals haven't evolved as much as we have?
They haven't intellectually evolved, but that doesn't mean that they are any less of alive.
Whales have larger brain communication centers in their brain and much more developed capacities in a lot of ways than humans.
Okay, that's fine, but that's not the point. The point is that we can't rationalize with an animal and go up to a lion and say, "Look, Simba, don't eat these zebras anymore." We have to. So humans, we can rationalize, or at least with some. I know probably 80% of the audience can't understand these concepts and can't rationalize with them, but I like to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to preach to humans instead of animals because they can't rationalize to that degree yet. But there's a comment on screen by Michael Vern Gutierrez. Does Jacob really eat dirt? Yes. And there's video of me eating dirt because I know a lot of people think it's a joke or something. On my YouTube channel, Jacob the Lifetarian, you could find my infamous Lifetarian hike documentary where I went out into nature. I went out to a forest, a nature preserve, and I found 3 strangers that I never met ever until that day. And I took them on a Lifetarian hike. It was a transformative experience, and and we had a Lifetarian picnic at one point where I fed them dirt. The 3 strangers, you could see their actual reactions to eating dirt, and then I ate dirt. So you could watch my Lifetarian hike documentary if you want to see me eat dirt. So before Vanessa comments, I want to remind our viewers that we have the option to invite you on screen with us here if you want to join in on the debate, or I have my hotline. You can call in if you're too afraid to come on screen. You could dial in on a phone and you can speak to us live. My hotline number is for recovering vegans who want to become Lifetarians. So the number is 1-877 VEG-AWAY. So 1-877-VEG-AWAY. So let me put that number up, and I'll save that on screen. So people could call in if they want and not be on screen.
Oh my goodness, Tom, you are too funny. Pigs are the fourth smartest animal. They may be moving up after listening to him. Richard says you can't risk your own safety. That's like stopping a shooter by running between him and the victim. Yeah.
Well, it depends how noble you are. You could be cowardly and run and let the animal murder the other animal or murder the plant, or let the mugger mug Mother Teresa if you want. But some people have the courage to step in line. I'm not saying you have to, but
I one time was driving in my area and I saw a hawk with a little mouse in his claws, and I ran out of my car and started screaming and yelling and throwing rocks like in his direction, not to hit him. And the hawk dropped the mouse on the grass, and well, no, in the middle of the road, and he was in the harm's way of cars, and so I was like nudging the mouse out of the way, and the mouse bit me. I was like, that's what I get for saving you, but it was still worth it. Michael Blow says, how much fecal matter is on the dirt? Are you really pooptarians? Yeah, probably eating a lot of the poop from the animals that are.
No, well, I already said we have to exhibit discretion no matter what we eat. I don't know if what you eat in your regular diet, sir, Michael Blow, but if you
amazing food that his wife makes, that's absolutely phenomenal. That she's like one of the top vegan chefs ever.
Sorry to hear that. So,
Vinny, you are hysterical. Ask her about the plant sex slave. She's got in the background. We have lots of plant sex slaves here that we're growing. That's
a good call, Vinny. She does have sex slaves. She has sex trade.
A lot of them. I do have a lot of them, and they make my air so pure and clean, and I thank them for it. And I thank them for their servitude to me. And they're growing so beautifully, which is a sign of consent, like you and your cows.
No, they're Uncle Toms, I guess. They're Uncle Toms.
They're growing and reaching out so healthily.
They are Uncle Toms who have Stockholm syndrome.
Are you patronizing my plants?
Yes.
They don't have their own mind?
They're saying that's consent. They have Stockholm syndrome.
Michael, a microorganism poop. Does he use a spoon or bare hands? Do you use a spoon or bare hands? And there are a lot of pathogens in soil. Do you cook it somehow? Matthias, yes.
So there are certain recipes Lifetarians have. You can cook the dirt. This is my first book, Life of a Lifetarian, available on Amazon or my website, lifetarian.com. There are my next book, I either want to make a Lifetarian cookbook or a book of all the hate mail I get from vegans, because I've got pages and pages of it. So I want to make a book of it, a compilation, so people could see the utter hatred that vegans spew and be like, I don't want to be like that. That doesn't represent me. So they'll see that I have the upper hand in terms of that kind of scathing hatred that I'm sure these comments probably are filled with.
Well, Tom's comment here should definitely be in that book. If he goes to a buffet, is it on a big shovel? An all-you-can-eat buffet. And I want to comment on Richard's quote here. You were trying to compare imposing veganism on humans to imposing veganism onto other animals. The two are incomparable, not to mention that a lion is an obligate carnivore. It's a fallacy to get your morals from a lion, which is so true, because the lion will die without meat, or at least without the nutrients. Because cats, for example, can be vegan if they get the nutrients they need to survive. They don't have to necessarily have the meat, but they have to have the nutrients. So if there's some way of doing it with a lion, there may be, but it's entirely different. Humans, we're not we didn't evolve, we didn't start off with, we didn't develop in any way to eat animals. We need tools in order to catch them, cook them, eat them. All of that is completely unnatural, and we evolved to eat plants. And all the archaeologists or anthropologists are seeing that now, because plant matter decays really quickly, so it's hard to trace in some ways, but our digestive tract, our enzymes, our shape of our teeth are all designed to eat plants, not dead bodies of animals.
So we have our number. We should have some callers call in.
George, why don't you call? I think George wants to call 1-877-834-2929. I know George needs help.
I agree. He does need some help. He's a vegan, right?
He has plant sex slaves in the house.
Mm.
So George, are you going to call in? Okay, he's calling in now, so we're going to get to hear him.
All right. We have another vegan calling in.
He knows a lot about soil, and he really likes all the what is it? What is that network? Mitochondrial. I've forgotten. But Michael Blow probably knows. Do I have a number? That has so much soil. How much soil or dirt do you have to eat daily?
All right, we got our caller. Hello, you are on the air.
Hello, Jacob. I just like know how much soil or dirt that you eat on a daily basis.
All right, so if you couldn't hear that, he's asking how much soil or dirt do we eat on a daily basis? So that is up to the Lifetarian in question, how much you eat. Personally, I'm more accustomed to it because I've been a Lifetarian for over a decade now. So I'm a little more used to it. So I can handle about a half pound a day, but I can eat more, but usually sometimes it's not always that much, sometimes it's less. But that's mixed with, of course, my other things I eat. So sometimes I'll have a hard-boiled egg with the dirt, or you could blend the dirt with milk and make like a dirt shake. So for new Lifetarians, you have to kind of maybe wean yourself. Your body's so used to eating death. Once you start giving it what it wants, it's probably going to throw a temper tantrum like a 6-year-old girl, and
or boy.
Yes, or an effeminate boy.
Who's there?
So you might want to wean yourself onto it because you already disgraced your body for your whole life, and it might not be ready. But once it is ready, you'll feel better than you've ever felt. Look at me for inspiration. I am the peak of what a human could yearn to be intellectually, physically, and morally. So,
indeed. Michael.
So this is what a decade of Lifetarianism gets you. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Yes. Michael, thank you. Mycelium, that was what I was looking for, the mycorrhizomes. And Matthias, breatharians. Yes, we were talking about breatharians where I said that's the only reasonable way to go because soil is full of microorganisms that are invisible. There's no way to clean the soil. There's no way to avoid killing tons of protozoa and bacteria and algae, mites, springtails, nematodes, earthworms, rodents. There's no way to clean it of all the life. So you're eating a ton of life if you eat soil, and eggs are stealing from the chicken, as is dairy. So breatharianism to me is the only approach if you're not going to eat plants of photosynthesis, like like getting the energy from the sun like the plants do. So Richard, you clean the dirt. It's riddled with bacteria, parasites, etc. Exactly. Cassandra, this is a level of psychosis I knew existed but chose to ignore. Is he a raw dirtist or does he consume mud pies? Nikki, my masculine boys cry. Crying to me is what you do when you're sad. It's a logical human behavior. If we're sad, we cry. If we're happy, we smile or we laugh. It's not, we've arbitrarily gender normed it as masculine or feminine. But when you're true to your feelings, you have reactions that are natural. It's just as natural for men and boys to cry as for women and girls and everyone who identifies in any other way. It's a human quality. It's not about effeminate or not.
Just like plants cry when their leaves are chewed by caterpillars.
Well, the caterpillars need to live too. And Michael says, do chicken or bovine hormones make humans more intelligent than cows and chickens? Yeah, that must be, because if you're eating their eggs or their milk, you are taking in a ton of the hormones that we pump them full of, having destroyed them.
All right, let's get some more callers.
Yes, let's get some callers.
The number is up.
I'm so glad you've snuck back in on Facebook. I'm thrilled to hear that. Oh, me too. You wait till you hear his song, his Helen Keller song. I heard that, I don't know when you did it, a year or two ago. I giggle every time I think of it.
So I do have a tribute song to Helen Keller. We'll end our broadcast with it.
Yes.
But let's get a couple more callers or someone to come in on screen. The number to call in, if you don't want to be on screen, is 1-877-834-2929 or 1-877-VEG-AWAY.
And Richard says plants don't cry. They release pheromones. There's a difference. Exactly. Like I said, they don't have a central nervous system. They don't feel pain. They don't have brain centers. They don't have nerve impulses. They don't feel, they respond to stimuli. They don't feel the way.
In a defensive manner because they're being destroyed.
Just like any life wants to live, a plant has that, but doesn't feel pain. And Patricia says, sex is common about girls having tantrums. Exactly.
So it doesn't feel pain, and that's why it's okay. What if we numb somebody up till they can't feel anything? Or some of those drunken jocks on any given weekend, when they're so numb from beers and vodka martinis, and they can't feel a thing, is it justified to kill them?
Right. Patricia says sex is common about girls having tantrums. Exactly. You're right with me. Animal agriculture, including dairy and eggs, is all about domination of the feminine and our reproductive system. Boo. 100%. That is enslaving the females to drink their milk or to take their eggs. 100%.
No, I already said it's consent. You're describing
how is it
institutions that I don't support. I don't support these multi-million-dollar big agro farms. I support only consensual and whatever's left over. We have another caller calling in.
Oh, we have a caller. Okay.
Hello, you are live on air.
Hey, is this Jacob?
This is Jacob the Lifetarian and Vanessa Marsot the vegan.
Hi, Jacob. This is Jake the vegetarian. I had a question.
You're Jake the vegetarian?
That's right.
Okay, go on.
Can Lifetarian can it increase libido?
Yes, this is actually a good question. So he's asking if Lifetarianism can increase libido. So I've covered this before, not on this podcast, but other times. I'll say it to you straight. Lifetarians have the best sex. Okay. So before you think this is just hyperbole, I'll explain it to you. So Lifetarian.
Reviews to back that up?
What's that?
Do you have Yelp reviews to back that up?
Well, I'll explain it to you, and I think it'll be
partners.
So let me explain. So Lifetarians have the best sex because we do not have sex for sport. Okay, we don't grind our loins like a Michael Douglas hump house on any given stranger that we meet on Tinder. Okay, so we only have sex to procreate. We don't waste that sperm that would be life juice. We don't just spill it. Well, like John Travolta when he goes to a bathhouse. Okay, we only have sex to procreate. So humans, as you know, aren't trying to procreate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, So that being said, Lifetarians only have sex maybe every other week or a monthly, bi-monthly, whenever you want to have a child. This could be once a year or twice a year. So imagine
not to bring more overpopulation to the planet. They don't get to ever have sex.
Well, hold on. Let me just finish this thought. Why Lifetarians have the best sex. So here is why we have the best sex. Men, imagine this. I know you're used to flogging your dolphin 5 days a week, probably.
The dolphin.
So imagine not doing that, not spilling your life juice for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, and then when you finally do, imagine the elation. Cloud 9 is an understatement. You'll be on cloud 69. Okay. So that is why Lifetarians have the best sex, because when we do, that bliss is us bearing new life into the world, and we're not just wasting it and getting sick of it like porn addicts. Okay, so that is why. And so yes, it will increase libido because of that, and we have the best sex. Does that answer your question, Jake the vegetarian?
Yes, I think so. That was a really good answer.
I wanted to say, Jake, so not eating animal products will make sure that your arteries are not clogged, and eating plenty of plants. There's a ton of scientific research. I don't have the articles right now, but also the film The Game Changers shows how much more freely the blood flows through the arteries and veins when you don't eat animal products. They actually on the game.
So that's a great point, but I don't know if you've watched a lot of videos on the internet, but it seems like a lot of women like to do things with vegetables, and I think that might be because of veganism.
Absolutely.
No, I think that is probably sensationalism, and that is I'm not even gonna really go into that.
I'm not sure if a Lifetarian would ever do that. That has to be from your side.
There are people with unusual habits and different fetishes in every group of people that there are, but my point is that you have increased blood flow as a vegan eating plant-based, which is how our bodies were designed, than if you eat milk, which is highly inflammatory and very, very dangerous for the immune system and has carcinogens in it as well. So dairy should be the first thing cut out. It also has the casomorphins, which are basically taking in a drug into your system. So milk is actually one of the causes of a lot of the autoimmune disorders that people have. It's very, very harmful. And the eggs, of course, are not even allowed. The not producers, but the ones who steal the females' production and market it, they're not even allowed to say that eggs are healthy because by the FDA, which is hardly protecting us, because they have such a high fat content that is so harmful. It's not at all healthy for people. But I do want to go on to some more of our comments if we can here.
Well, yeah, before we do that, let me just piggyback off what Jake the vegetarian was saying about how some vegans like to fondle themselves with vegetables or fruits. So I think that the cause of that is a penis is part of a living thing, which is okay. That's good. And vegans have this, their minds get skewed because a penis is a living thing, and then they see this phallic-shaped eggplant or this cucumber, and unconsciously they see it.
It's getting ridiculous.
They see this living thing. So we all agree plants are living. They see this living thing that's shaped like a phallic-shaped penis, and to them, what's the difference? A penis, a plant, a cucumber, an eggplant. So they have this urge where they think anything should go up there. Then at that point,
yeah, exactly.
All right, Jake, thanks for calling. We're gonna get to some of our other comments.
I want to see the just address some more of the comments. Patricia says, nice slavery, of course, stealing from the female. Receipts or it didn't happen. Yelp reviews, yes, I do think partners should have Yelp reviews. Richard, the lady doth protest too much, methinks. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. Is Tom says, is the sex with or without a willing partner? How many kids do you have, Jacob? Jacob, I believe, is childless.
Yes, I do not yet have children. I am still waiting for the right Lifetarian mate. So I do have a dating profile on Craigslist. You could find me on there, Jacob the Lifetarian. So if there's any Lifetarian mates listening to this, you can message me, you could PM me, and we could discuss time for getting together for eventually creating a child.
Eating dirt together. Tylea, dude, you're gonna last 2 minutes. Jonathan, Lifetarianism encompasses no FAP. I don't know what that means, what no FAP is.
So let's have some more callers. As we read these comments, we're still waiting on someone else to call in. So
yes, Kim, tryveg.com. Yes, absolutely. Great website. Thank you. Patty, so good to see you on here. Tylea, I don't blame you. Michael, more cows get raped than vegetables. Yes, and why do we, why aren't we out there fighting for animal rights when they feel so much more than a plant could? Why?
So it looks like Nikki here is already getting a little excited by these phallic-shaped eggplant emojis.
Nikki, yes. We're going to fondle some eggplant because it reminds us of a penis shortly. Theodore, cucumbers are hot NGL. I don't know what NGL is. Sorry. I'm not in with the kids slang, I guess.
So Tylea Black is saying, I was mansplaining vegetables. I guess she's already well accustomed to the practice of vegetable fondling. Sorry about mansplaining that to you. Sorry if you do that all the time. I didn't mean to waste your time, Tylea. I'm very sorry.
Tylea is hysterical. Tom, glad he's doing his part to lower the world population. Theodore, again with the NGL, can you write out what that is? I'm sorry, I can't quickly Google that. Usually I would GTS. Usually I would GTS something, Google that shit, but I'm not going to do that right now. You'd smash a carrot. Okay.
Haley is asking if I will date long distance. I will consider it, but at some point we need to bear new Lifetarians onto this planet. I will consider it. Haley, if you are a Lifetarian, you could reach out.
Yes, exactly. Then we have prostate and breast. Patricia says prostate and breast cancer too. Exactly. That's milk causes all of those horrible things. Jonathan, women degrade themselves in vegetables for their sick pleasures, increase blood flow to you know where. Okay, that's probably a very small percentage of people, but hey, if you're not hurting anyone, then you know that's your thing. You vegetable murderer. Thank you, Haley. Joe,
we're still waiting on more callers. FYI, we have the number on screen.
Oh, okay.
No one's calling. Yeah, I'm just reminding you.
I thought you said okay. Pardon me. Sell me your couch, you little vegan. I have some great velvet couches. So, Tylea, I put big cucumbers in my mouth. You naughty girl. Christopher, help. I'm stuck in a backpack. Okay. Joe, awkward. Nikki, the eggplant. I agree. Can a plant consent to sex with a woman's vagina? No. Well, I don't agree with doing that. I don't think it sounds appealing or sanitary, and I have a partner, so that would not be mine.
All right, we have a caller calling in.
Oh, okay. Huge difference. You can't get pregnant.
Hello, you're live on the air with Jacob the Lifetarian and Vanessa the Vegan.
Hi, my name is Priscilla. I had a question for you, Jacob.
All right, hold on. Before you ask, we have someone else also calling in. So whoever's calling currently, call back once we're off with this current caller, and we will answer your call. All right, go ahead.
All right, Jacob, are there any diseases that you've become immune to by being a Lifetarian?
That's a great question, especially in these times of coronavirus. So the Lifetarian immune system is immaculate, okay? So I haven't, since I've become a Lifetarian, I've been a Lifetarian for over a decade. So I haven't gotten sick since I've become a Lifetarian, and I have zero fears of becoming sick with the coronavirus because I know the Lifetarian immune system can fight off any disease because we are bringing our bodies back to the way nature intended, to not murder things, but to live of the earth. Because as I explained, science says that the human potential is actually 120 years old, not 80 or 70 or whatever the current average human lifespan is in a modern industrialized society. So,
what's that we're meant to eat the way you're describing?
What's your question?
What's your proof that this is how we're meant to eat?
Because morality suggests that killing is wrong. When we kill things, we feel bad inside, unless there's a thing wrong in our brain where we are sociopaths or psychopaths. We have a natural disdain for killing, and when something is screaming out and help, we have a natural instinct to want to help it, and it brings us distress when we hear screaming and crying that is in vain. So it is our natural instincts to not want to kill. So that being said, it is our natural instincts to not want to kill anything that is alive. So
right.
humans are alive, animals are alive, and plants are alive. So this is the way that our instincts suggest we should live.
Right. We're probably going to have to wrap it up because it's been an hour and a half. But let's just
we answered your question on the line. Lifetarians have an immaculate immune system. Vegans probably get sick more often than we do. But I'll hang up. I'll give someone else a chance to call in. We'll wrap it up in, let's say, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Patricia, show me the study on your self-pleasure theory with plants, that it's vegans who do this, not non-vegans. Not that I care. Yeah, I agree with you on that. How do we know that it's the vegans doing that? Kim, thank goodness. I don't know what that was referring to. Tom, did he get punched a lot in school? I don't think you did. You probably entertained everyone in school, is my guess, Jacob. You were probably really funny in school. And people probably like.
No, comedy is not really. Comedy isn't something that I really partake in or watch because I see it as a waste of my time personally. But we have another caller calling in. I'll respect everyone's time. We'll wrap it up in a few minutes, but let's take this last caller, perhaps. Hello, you were live on the air with Jacob the Lifetarian and Vanessa the Vegan.
Oh.
Hey, thank you both. First-time caller. This question's for Jacob. On chapter 3, Lifetarians have the best sex. Okay.
Yep.
I was in between being Lifetarian and vegetarian, I guess. And the part about sperm having, okay? So what I did is I got a vasectomy. So does that mean I can have sex now without worrying?
So vasectomy, I do not agree with because now you are preventing yourself from bringing life, and life is sacred. You shouldn't be preventing yourself from giving new life to the world. So I am anti-vasectomy, but since you already got it, are you asking, is it okay for you to have sex now? Granted, yes, you're not. Go on.
Is it Lifetarian friendly? I mean,
yes, I understand. So, yes, I understand the question. So you're not wasting your sperm life juice. So you can now whatever, get your rocks off or whatever is going on without wasting your Kleenex supply or drowning your potential progeny upon the back or down the gullet of your mate. So I would say technically, I guess, but the lifestyle that you're suggesting, I'm still against because it's a lifestyle that leads to heathenism and Caligula-esque cosplay type life. So you're gonna become a depraved individual if your life just revolves around pumping your loins into flesh. Okay. So thank you for your call. If someone wants to call in the next 2 minutes, we'll take your call. But I do want to say this because I didn't bring this up, and this is you vegans on the comments section have been ridiculing me for eating eggs and calling them chicken periods and such. So let me tell you this. Chicken periods. Okay. So let me tell you this. The fruits that you're eating, biologically, this is not my opinion. This is science. Biologically speaking, fruits are the ovaries of plants. So you may ridicule me for eating chicken periods, but you are ovary eaters, okay? That sounds even worse to me. So you are eating ovaries. Ovaries are not food, okay?
I'm an ovary eater. Okay, let's get back to the comments really quickly. Oh, not gonna lie. Thank you, Michael, for the NGL, and I think somebody else put it. Where does he get his dirt? Oh, thank you, Priscilla, for that too. Where does he get vegetable mastication? Where do you get your dirt? And Richard, thank you for the information on best foods to improve sexual function. And yes, Shannon, do research milk being the cause of cancer. It is in the China study, and many other links will show that, in that countries that don't have high milk consumption don't have the rates of cancer that we do. Does dirt cause constipation? Brad tells me I'm a murderer. Thank you so much. Richard, do you know what kink shaming is? Yes, I think there was some kink shaming going on with the vegetables and all that.
Yes, just like I would kink shame Jeffrey Dahmer or Albert Fish for having sex with corpses. Yes, kink shaming is not necessarily a bad thing.
And then Richard says the longest living, healthiest populations on Earth, the 7 blue zones, we're all majority plant-based with the vast majority of calories coming from starchy carbs. Exactly.
And wait till the Lifetarian
all the okay, we're gonna wait to see how old Jacob makes it till. I was in India and I met a gentleman who was 107 who was living on bananas, which I thought was really amazing. Tom asked if you're gonna test your theory on the coronavirus and lick shopping cart handles.
I will.
Oh gosh.
It's a good video for me to do. I would be happy to lick shopping cart handles.
Tom wants us to keep going. Richard, you're doing an excellent comedic act right now. I think Jacob is very funny. And Kim, kickstart.pcrm.org/en is excellent. PCRM has great foods.
I'm not trying to be funny. This isn't funny to me.
For immunity, for all of that. Dominion, watch dominion.com, Game Changers, Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, What the Health, so many great vegan films. Scott says, are you aware that vegans partake in engaging in copulation with the earth through earth glory holes? I have no idea what that is, and I don't even.
If you don't know what that is, then that's a damning statement. Because that means you didn't watch my Lifetarian hike documentary. Because in that,
I watch everything you do, Jacob. I just forgot that part.
So in that documentary, when I was hiking with those strangers, we stumbled upon earth glory holes. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's when sick freaks, typically of the vegan persuasion, drill a hole in the dirt, and then they insert their man parts in it and fornicate with the dirt. So this is a depravity that is
why
not just vegans. I don't want to say that, but it is definitely them too. But the cause of this is what makes these people have sex with holes in the dirt is that their bodies, like I was explaining, instinctually want to eat the soil and eat the dirt. So their bodies unconsciously are wanting to get back to the earth like that. So instead of eating the dirt, they're confused because the meat or the plants are clouding their brain. So they want to connect with that earth because that's their bodily instincts. So instead of consuming it like they should, they're instead pleasuring it. So that's the psychology behind.
That's very creative explanation, Jacob. Very creative. I give you A for creativity. Tom wants to know if you keep a Joe Dirt poster in the kitchen to stimulate appetite. That's funny. Nikki says, Stop eating eggs and dairy. Those things don't belong to you, and it's gross. Agreed, 100%. Stop eating dirt. That's gross too. Have more sex just for pleasure. You will be a happier man for it. 100%. Have sex for pleasure. They wouldn't make it feel good if it weren't meant to be done for pleasure.
No,
Lifetarian diet is keto friendly.
We've been brainwashed into doing it.
Says, absolutely. Why don't you eat a woman's period? It's kinky too. Well, that is the point. Fruit are the sex organs. It's the densest form of vitamins and antioxidants to make humans healthy. Exactly, Richard.
Fruits are the ovaries. Fruits are ovaries.
Jacob the King Shamatarian. Kabindra says Radha Girl Acharya. Not sure. I'll have to look up my Hindi. I am a big fan of Bollywood movies, but I don't. Yes, Haley, I did need to know what an earth glory hole was. Thank you for that. Typically vegan, you're right. Does he rape his dirt before he eats it? Oh,
jeez.
Toss up for me if this is a gag or not. Well,
I don't know, Vanessa, are you putting us on? I thought vegan was satire when I first learned about it, but I don't know. Have you been joking this whole time?
I think Lifetarianism is very funny. Is this where they talk about sexual encounters with couches? What's all the couches reference? Is it because I have awesome couches, like my velvet couches? They are great for that.
So if that's all the comments and all the callers, we could wrap it up with my Helen Keller song if we want.
Yes, let's wrap it up with that. First, Richard says it's extremely dangerous to shame people for feeling good about sex. You should speak with a psychologist about the repercussions of this. I agree.
No, you've been brainwashed by the porn industry, Richard. Or dick is probably what you go by on the porn forums.
No need for putting him down, but I do think that there is a lot of sex shaming going on, and I do think a lot of porn is also extremely misogynistic, and it creates this. I worked in a group home for teenage boys who had come out of prison or jail or prison or camps, and so many of them, we would talk in therapy, and a lot of them have very harmful notions of what sex is, that it involves violence and subduing the woman and slamming her and being rough with her, because it shows that women liking it in the porn, and a lot of women don't like it, and that's something that should be discussed ahead of time. I wouldn't like being slammed around and hurt and roughed up, and I have sensitive skin, and that would be really unpleasant for me. Being spanked really hard, I find that really unpleasant. So I think there's a violent culture to pornography, but shaming somebody for enjoying sex, I think, is a problem if it's a healthy sex that isn't violating anyone's right, and certainly not with animals. I have no comments about the plants, but no sex with a non-consensual being, and no sex with anyone who is not able to give consent. And that includes people who are not of age to give consent. So that's my spiel as a psychotherapist who has dealt with many victims of abuse.
All right. Well, we could wrap it up on that note.
Yes,
we both agree rape is bad. That's the conclusion.
And I'm going to show you my couches. So here is a purple, sorry, it's a little dark here, but here is, how do I show it? Here is my purple velvet couch. So I am a fan of the purple, and nobody can shame me for my purple fetishism, but it does not involve doing anything to purple velvet. So that's my spiel.
All right. So let's wrap up with the Helen Keller song.
Yes, we're going to be wrapping up, everyone. You'll hear why the Helen Keller. Don't couch shame me. I agree. That's right, Donnie. Couch porn, that's fine. No problem with that. Sensitive skin, wait, what is this? Is often indicative of an imbalanced diet, i.e. veganism. That's funny, Megan. Scott Warner, maybe don't engage in oral sex with plants if you don't agree with it. I just eat them. Wayne, if she's saying no, she really means yes. I think that's an extremely dangerous, problematic, and misogynistic thing to say. And I hope you are joking. And Kim, love and miss you too. When did the eggplant consent? I don't know. What's the whole deal with this eggplant? I don't engage in anything.
Are you kink shaming? What's going on?
Does the couch pull out? Because I don't. Nikki, nice to see. I would love to see your beautiful face, Nikki. So good to see you. Rape is bad. Consent is sexy. 100% agreed. And she intellectual mutilated him over an hour ago. I don't get it. Okay, been waiting for it. Okay. Let us have the Helen Keller song. Thank you all so much for listening and for taking part in this debate. I wanted to do it because I wanted to show how we can counter all the plants have feelings too arguments, and to also have a little bit of levity in a time of great distress and anxiety for all of us. I hope you're all safe and well. Please don't lick any shopping carts, even if you think your immune system is great. Be safe, and we will be ending with the Helen Keller song.
So since there were a lot of comments throughout this hour and a half and a lot of viewers, we could do this again and not have to go through the whole spiel of explaining everything. We could do a Q&A the entire time, maybe in the future.
Definitely.
Since Vanessa is one of those vegans who don't vehemently curse my name and insult and slander me the whole time. She's level-headed, at least, which is why I know she'll eventually become a Lifetarian, because she has all the sprouts, telltale signs of becoming a Lifetarian. She's like me when I first became one. So that is why I'm willing to do these with Vanessa, but I will do with others too that hate my guts, because I'm not afraid of anybody. Anyway, let's wrap it up, and we'll do this again with Vanessa, and end it on the Helen Keller song that explains how vegans murdered Helen Keller. So this is a sing-along too. So I want everyone listening right now to sing along to the chorus. It's a familiar melody that you'll know. So I feel like when we all sing these words together, the vibration in our vocal cords and singing out and speaking Lifetarian truths together will bring us closer to becoming Lifetarians ourselves. So when the chorus comes in, I'll start singing, and then I want all of you to join in with me. There's a few choruses, so you'll get the words by the final one at least. So here we go. Vegans murdered you, Helen Keller. Will vegans murder me, Helen Keller? All the vegans let you die. Will vegans breathe when there's no trees? That's right, vegans did murder Helen Keller, and I'll tell you how. How do vegans justify killing and eating plants but not animals? Well, unlike animals, plants can't see, can't hear, and can't talk. So let's look at Exhibit A, Helen Keller. Helen was blind, she couldn't see, deaf, she couldn't hear, and therefore she couldn't really communicate vocally. Well, that's 3 strikes, she's out, according to the vegans' logic. Vegans murdered you, Helen Keller. Will vegans murder me, Helen Keller? All the vegans let you die. Will vegans breathe when there's no trees? Indeed, Helen is no different than the trees we breathe and that the vegans eat. That's why I'm here, to let the vegans know that life also grows out of the ground, and not just out of a vagina, okay? So, before you get the light out of your next salad, stare into those voiceless leaves and see the sweet face of Helen. Vegans murdered you, Helen Keller. Will vegans murder me, Helen Keller? All the vegans let you die. Will vegans breathe when there's no trees? Helen, this is for you. I know you can't see this or hear this, but I'm here to give a voice to the voiceless. Enough of these hypocritical vegans murdering plants all over the globe. Everyone listening to this, join hands with the person on your left, the plant on your right, and the cat on your lap. And let's all join in together for this final chorus. Everyone. Vegans murder you. Will vegans murder me? All the vegans let you die. will vegans breathe when there's no tree? Vegans murdered you. Helen Keller will vegans murder me?
I don't care if you're lying never done like the vegans do.
All the vegans let you die. Will vegans breathe when there's no trees? Will vegans breathe when there's no tree? I'll never eat you, Helen. So that is my Helen Keller song.
Thank you, Jacob, for your beautiful song. Thank you all for watching and listening. I have to go for a power walk now, my nightly ritual. So I wish you all a beautiful evening. Thank you, Jacob. And we'll see you all next time.
All right. Take care, everyone.